Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun scroll saw project video, we are going to be cutting out some miniature lamppost designs using the compound cutting technique over on the scroll saw. I felt this would be a really cool project to bring to life visually over here on the platform. The design and pattern is featured in an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing, Fall 2024, issue 96 to be precise, and there you see the cover with the nice fretwork style deer on it. The pattern and article begins on page 25, and here you see a visual representation of what we are going to be making in today's video. And the article says compound cut lamppost, scroll one or a dozen of these storybook light fixtures by Sue May. So thank you, Sue, for the beautiful designs featured here. And the ones featured in the magazines were cut by staff members of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine. So really neat. The full-size patterns, a couple of them follow on the following page, on page 26 here, and I have already got these photocopied. So really cool and unique designs, and we're going to cut out both of them in today's video. I felt it would be appropriate since they are so unique. Both offer different stylings here and different shapes and textures. But if you did not want to cut out either of these, additional lamppost designs are featured in the full-size pattern pull-out section featured in the magazine itself, so you can pick one that suits your style and need, or you can cut them all out as the magazine says. You do not need much material to do this project. You only need an 1¼ inch square piece of material that's roughly 7 inches long. I rummaged around in the scrap bin and I selected a piece that was leaning against the scrap bin because of its thickness for compound cutting. I picked this up at the hardwood store out of the free scrap bin, and I do not know what kind of material it is. You can see the grain texture slightly there on camera, hopefully, but it milled just like pine material does. It's very soft, it's very light, but it does not have any kind of odor to it that I can detect. But again, from that piece, we've got our piece that we're going to be cutting out over on the scroll saw. And I hope with compound cutting, as I always say, I hope it goes without saying that you need to make sure that your table saw, where you mill your material down, is dialed in at a perfect 90 degrees, as well as the scroll saw is dialed in at a 90 degrees where you will be cutting out the project. As I said, the patterns have already been photocopied, and what we need to do now to get started is move the camera, trim out the patterns, and get them attached to the material. Let's do that now. Over here on the workbench, we'll take a straight edge and an X-Acto knife, and we will cut out the patterns, and then I will fold them in half precisely along that dotted line to get them ready to attach to our material with clear packing tape. Clear packing tape is all I will use to attach the patterns to the material here. It will do a great job of holding the patterns in place, and the clear packing tape can also help lubricate the scroll saw blade to reduce burn marks. But once it is attached, we will head over to the Rikon table saw to finish cutting everything down to the proper size. And with the length of these small lampposts, they are a good size to get a good grip on while over at the scroll saw. But then we will head over to the drill press, and we will take a small drill bit and drill out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. There is a few on each of the lampposts. And then before we begin doing our scroll saw work, we will double check to make sure everything is dialed in at a perfect 90 degrees with my 3D printed blade alignment jig. And once I am happy with it, I'll thread the blade through a pilot hole, and we are ready to begin scrolling. For all of the scrolling on this project, I'll be using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade, and it will cut through all of the material exceptionally well with minimal chip out. And please be aware that you are cutting through a lot thicker material than you usually do over at the scroll saw, so it is just a very slow cut. Especially these very first cuts here. Once you start rotating the material, the cuts will be easier. So you need to always make sure with compound cutting especially that you keep a firm grip on the piece you are cutting out. The blanks we are cutting out here are around 1¼ inch in thickness. So again, I am taking my time and I'm letting the blade do the work here and being as loyal as I can be to the cut line. And now traditionally, when you go to a thicker material like we are cutting here, you would go to a thicker scroll saw blade, say maybe a 10, 11, or 12 size blade. but due to the small and delicate cuts on these small miniature lampposts, I am still using the blade that I use for around 95% of the scroll saw work that I do. We are now done with the internal cuts, and we are releasing the one side of the piece. I'll go on and release both sides here. It takes me around 30 minutes to make each of the lampposts, and they are a great way to use up some of that ever accumulating scrap wood in the scrap bin. But here we are cutting out the other one, and it looks like a more traditional looking lamppost that you would see on a street corner. But after I cut this side out, I will step away from the scroll saw and step over to the workbench. And this next step here is totally optional. What I like to do with compound cutting is remove the piece and remove as much of that excess sawdust as possible before taping the piece back together. I just like to get all of that excess sawdust removed, because what it can do is catch in the scroll saw blade and produce burn marks. But then I tape everything back together so we can rotate the pieces and cut out the other side. Once I am happy with everything here, I will sit down at the scroll saw to complete the rest of the scroll saw work. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel, and also follow me across all of my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. But we are now pretty much done with the one lamppost here. Again, it's just a mirror of the other side that we cut out originally. And now I'm cutting out the more artistic looking lamppost here. If you guys would like to try these patterns, they are available in an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. I always look forward to getting those amazing magazines that are packed with tons of creative scroll saw woodworking projects. But now all of the scroll saw work is done, and we can carefully remove the pieces from the waste wood so we can see the 3D image that we have cut out, and then we can get ready for sanding. And with the delicate nature of these small lampposts, I opted to sand everything by hand. I'm using a sanding sponge from Klingspor Woodworking Shop here to do the initial sanding, and then I'm doing all of the touch-up work with the sanding sticks that subscribers have sent me. They are pieces of small foam board with different grits of sandpaper glued to them, and they are great for getting in all of the little nooks and crannies. But once I'm happy with them, I'm going to give them a splash of color with a very light Minwax wood stain that still allows the natural grains and textures of the material we use to shine through. And I'll wipe off all of the excess with a paper towel, and I'll hang them on hooks to dry. And when they are dry, it will be time for finishing, and I will finish them both with several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And I will hang them on hooks outside to dry in the breeze. And it doesn't take long at all for them to dry. And then I came back and removed them from the hooks, and the project was complete. And here we have the completed miniature compound cut lamppost, cut out completely over on the scroll saw using the compound cutting technique. Once again, showing off a scroll saw's amazing versatility for creative and beautiful designs such as these miniature lampposts. I want to once again thank Miss Sue May for the beautiful designs from a previous issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. We have two beautiful miniature lampposts made today. We have one that looks more like a traditional lamppost, and then the other one has a more artistic vibe and flair to it, but they both finished up beautifully. It took me around 30 minutes to scroll everything out completely from start to finish over on the scroll saw, and they are not very complex cuts. It's just with the nature of compound cutting, and you want to make sure everything is lined up perfectly to achieve the 3D effect you are going for. You need to, of course, take your time and let the blade do the work and be as loyal as you can be to the cut line. And again, the material I used, I'm unsure of what it is, but I wish I had a lot more of it because it scrolled so smoothly and perfectly over at the scroll saw, and I wish I had a lot more of it to do more compound cut projects over here on the platform, because it just worked so well for what I did today over on the scroll saw. But I finished it in a standard rustic finishing way. I stained both of the lampposts a light shade of Minwax wood stain to still allow the natural shades, grains, and textures of that material to shine through, and then I finished everything with several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss to give it protection for years to come, to seal it properly, as well as giving it a nice glossy sheen, as you can see it there in the lights of the workshop, and also to make the grain pop. But really, really beautiful. With a project like this, there's so many options and so many different ways to make it and finish it. Of course, with the standard rustic finishing way, it didn't take me long to make these today for you guys on video. But if you wanted to go above and beyond, you could of course paint these with acrylic craft paints. If you wanted to, you could put resin into the cavities there where the light would be, maybe some yellow resin to simulate the light glowing. That's an option. And then you also always have the option to cut the projects out of exotic or hardwoods. Just be aware that if you cut a compound cut project out of harder or denser material, your cut is just going to be that much slower. So please be aware of that. And as I said at the beginning, I hope it goes without saying that for compound cutting, you need to make sure that your table saw and your scroll saw is dialed in at a perfect 90 degrees. And again, take your time with cutting out everything to achieve the 3D effect that you are going for. But the two we made today, one is a more simplistic design that really looks like a traditional lamppost, and then you have a more artistic style one that kind of looks like an elegant chess piece in my opinion. But I'm really happy with how both of these finished up, and they can both easily freestand on a shelf, desk, or countertop without the need of a base. But of course you could go above and beyond and make a base for them. You could batch these out, as the magazine said, and give these as gifts. They take 1 1/4 inch square piece of material that's roughly 7 inches long, so I'm sure all you guys have some of that kind of stock laying around in your scrap bin or just sitting around that you can mill down and try a project like this out in your garage or workshop and give these as gifts. If you have a friend or relative that loves to read books, maybe fantasy books like the Narnia series that was very popular and still very popular, you could give this as a gift because there's a lamppost featured in those books prominently. If you like to do miniature dioramas, of course, you know, you could make these. You could batch out a pair of the same ones and use them as like a gate to maybe a diorama house or a street set or something like that. So a lot of options and versatility with a project like this, and also options for each and every scroll saw woodworking project and pattern you come across. But I'm really happy with how they came out, and it's my hopes that when I do a compound cut video that it inspires you guys to go out in your garage or workshops and try a piece of compound cut art over at your scroll saw. I'm always happy to help people learn over at the scroll saw, and projects like this really show off what a scroll saw is capable of by taking projects into the third dimension with the compound cutting technique. But they are beautiful. I'm really enjoying how they look. I'm just so impressed with it. You know, just a few simple cuts over at the scroll saw and a beautiful 3D image emerges. Here we have the waste wood from today's projects. This will make nice kindling, you know, but again, didn't take much material at all to make the project. And I brought out my original childhood Lionel train just to show you guys another option for the lamppost. Of course, it could be for a model train set. Of course, O scale is a little bit smaller than traditional scales that this would go for. I think this would be suited better for maybe the G scale garden railroads, you know, the bigger model trains that are outdoor use and everything. But you could potentially shrink the pattern down and cut it out. So again, more options and versatility for scroll saw patterns everywhere. It just might be that some of the small internal cuts might be a little more tedious to cut out if you shrink the pattern down for model or diorama purposes. So please keep that in mind. As I said, the pattern that we use today, the patterns we used today came from a previous issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. Fall 2024, issue 96 to be precise, with the beautiful fretwork deer on the cover. And the article began, as I said, on page 25. And once again, thank Miss Sue May for the beautiful designs featured on the following page. And here are the two that we done in today's video. But as I said at the beginning, there's more additional compound cut lamppost designs featured in the full-size pattern pull-out section that is included with each and every issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. So you do have options if you did not want to cut out the two that I cut out in today's video for you guys. But again, it's my hopes that it inspires you guys to try compound cutting and take your scroll saw to the next level. Again, just make sure everything is dialed in at a perfect 90 degrees, and you should do well with cutting out beautiful 3D objects such as these beautiful compound cut lampposts. But I had a lot of fun in today's video, and hopefully you guys picked up a tip, trick, or tidbit along the way. That's about all for this one. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you guys. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.